Hi everyone, this is Luna and today we are going to read about the current that breeds minion currents. The OP of the story said that this all happened around Christmas and New Year's, but I just found this sub and I'm obsessed with it now, so I have to give my story. Let's begin. My grandparents immigrated to Canada from Italy in the 70s and opened up a restaurant. When they passed away, the restaurant went to my parents. Over the decades they grew and expanded it. I have been working at the restaurant since I was 15. Over time my parents got older and eventually retired, becoming snowbirds. Go to Florida for the winters. They let the restaurant to me about a few years ago, but still retaining a small percent ownership as an additional revenue stream along with their savings and annuities. Soon as I gained control, I pretty much modernized the old place. Remodeled the restaurant, changed the logo, reached out the local and national papers to put out ads, invited food critics, bloggers, vloggers, etc. It was very slow at first, and I began to worry that the loan I took out to do all this was the biggest mistake I had ever done, and I ruined 3 generations of my family's business. But eventually it began to work, and a local semi-famous YouTuber featured us in one of his videos, and that was the catalyst for more people to come and review, and eventually we were seeing 5 to 10 times the business we usually get, even if it's Monday. We became a hotspot for major events, and it wasn't uncommon for a celebrity to come. On those nights I even arranged for a special high-profile chiefs to visit and cook for our guests. It cost a fortune. So during the holidays we were beyond packed. It got to the point where people would have had to make reservations in July to get a table in December, and this process took years to get to where we are now. When it gets busy, I don't just sit in a back office, I'm on the floor doing whatever needed to be done. Even if that means I greet people, busying tables, or even mopping the floors. Other nights, when we have high-profile guests or events, I'm in a blazer and I'm acting in charge though. On one night, a group of 6 women walk in. 5 of them look like they are still in their early 20s, and the head of the group looked like she was in her mid-20s. Best theory, she was one of the other 4 girls' older sister, or possible an older sorority sister to incoming college freshmen maybe. I was greeting at the door as they were walking up. Queen Karen was telling the baby Karens on how this place is awesome, food is amazing, and there might even be celebrates here. When she came up to me, she told me she needed a table for 6. I replied, "Of course, can I please get the name of the reservation?" She looked at me and said, "Oh, I didn't make one, but it's okay. The owner is a personal friend of mine, and he said he always has 1 or 2 tables that he keeps open for special guests, and said we can have one of those tonight." Now, generally this is true of many high-profile restaurants, and lately I have been doing that as well, but I had no clue who this woman was, and she definitely never spoke to me about any of this. I did get she was trying to get in without reservation, but she literally picked the worst person she could possibly talk to and try this. I told her, "I am sorry, but we cannot seat anyone without a reservation. As you can see, we don't have any seats available." I didn't want to go all out and say I am the owner, and we have never spoke before, so I never promised you a thing, because I didn't want to embarrass her in front of the other girls she was with. But that was at first. She then went on and said out loud to one of the other girls to take a picture of me. She will speak to the owner and make sure I'm either cleaning the toilet or fired by the end of the week. The other girls following her lead were like, "Yeah, kiss your minimum wage job goodbye." I'm not sure if they were in on with her or honestly thought she knew the owner. Queen Karen then went on and said, "Look, you can just give us a table, or I can make life very difficult for you. This is not worth losing your job." Constantly pointing, just trying to put me down, saying things like, "Obviously you aren't anyone here, because if you were, you would know who I am," and never even tried to tell me anything other than yes or of course. Constantly trying to belittle me and to get that table. At this point it was a long day for me, and the way I saw it I had 3 options. 1. Tell her I am the owner and just call her out on all of this. 2. Just give her the table and let it be. Or 3. Teach Queen Karen and her little minions a lesson. I choose option 3 for various reasons, including some personality flaws I am aware that I have, but I like to think it was at least 50% really wanting to teach her a lesson. I smiled at her and said, "Of course, ma'am, follow me, please." And I gave her one of the 3 tables we keep open in case a celebrity comes in. It happens from time to time. I told her I apologize for everything, and she is right, it would be simpler to just give her the table, and I also told her that the first 3 rounds of drinks will be complimentary. I sat them down and personally served them. As they were sitting down, I told them we need one of your credit cards and ID just to keep on file, and we will give it back to you before you leave. Queen Karen gave me her cards and told the baby Karen minions that tonight was on her. I took the orders and got them their free drinks and told them due to how busy we are tonight, there might be a delay on food. All the girls were thinking of and cared about was their 3 rounds. They ordered their 3 rounds and still no food. They eventually called me and asked me to check on it, the whole time giving me the nastiest attitude even since before they ordered. I told them I will check on it, but also asked if they would like any more drinks. They ordered 2 more rounds by the time the appetizers arrived. At this point they were all drunk, having done nothing but to drink on an empty stomach most of the night and only having salads after. As more food arrives, the more drinks are ordered. What these girls never realized was they are at our VIP table, which alone costs a few thousand just to sit in, but I didn't charge them for that. What I did charge them for was all the super expensive cocktails they had throughout the whole night, except for the first 3 rounds. In addition, the table they were sitting in, as mentioned, was VIP, so the menus were a bit different. For one, they don't say prices on them. And in addition, it had certain higher-end menu options, such as white truffle, black caviar dishes, and specially imported West Coast oysters, among other things. At one point at night, I was honestly rethinking what I was doing, and I thought I might be going too far with these poor girls, as they might not know any better. But some things reassured me throughout the night, such as one of the baby Karens asked me if I felt like my life was worthless since all I ever became was a waiter. Also, one of my other employees told me they were discussing how to with me, to the point that they can just do this whenever they want and I will know to always give them the table. I also overheard them say, "He is cute, but I would never date a waiter like that. He is such a pushover." There were a bunch of comments like that the whole night. So I kept on with the life lesson. By the end of the night, each girl racked up a bill in the range of $500 to $600 per girl. When I handed Queen Karen the bill of $4,232.23, with tax and tip included, of course, I have never seen anyone sober up so quickly. She went from laughing and giggling with her friends to nearly in tears. She called me over instantly and asked if this was some kind of a joke. I took the bill, looked it over, and said, "Oh yes, I apologize. I will get you the correct bill in a moment." Again she felt a complete sense of relief thinking she got someone else's bill, called me a idiot, and went on to talking to her friends. To be fair, I did make a mistake. I forgot to count her 8th order of a dozen oysters that cost about $120 per order. So I gladly just went back and added it to the order. When I went back to give her the correct bill, she flipped out again, going crazy. I just asked if there is something on the bill that she didn't order. She and the girls in shock go over every single line of the bill, including the first few lines that show their original 3 rounds, which say complimentary. They then took out their phones and line by line went over everything for the 100th time, adding everything up. Extremely rattled, Queen Karen simply said, "1 second, I need to use the washroom." Part of me thought she might just pull a dime and dash and leave the baby Karens with the bill, but kinda low-key I did in a way remind her that we had her ID and CC without making it obvious that I thought she was going to run out on a bill. 10 minutes later she comes back with new makeup, obviously she has been crying, and makes up a whole story on how the food was awful, the drinks were bad, and so on, demanding that as a bare minimum I should cut the bill in half with the agreement the baby Karens will chip in even though she originally told them the night would be on her. Then as if a light bulb went off in her head, she again mentioned her relationship with the owner as if it were to give me an additional incentive to cut the bill in half. Holding back a grin at this point, I told her no. Just no. I can't change the bill. She whips out her phone and shows me a series of texts with someone called my restaurant's name owner, which pretty much I realized was what she was doing in the bathroom, just probably changed one of the other Karen Minion contacts' name and deleted previous texts to start this new script. I read them through, then clicked on contact info and told her that's not the owner's cell number. Her reply was, "He has multiple phones for business and stuff. Of course you don't know all his numbers." I thought, wow, this girl thought of everything except I am the actual owner. I told her, how about this? We call him and he says that's okay to take 50% of the bill, then I will do it. Her reply was yelling and screaming over the time where the few remaining customers all began to look at her, and I knew it's the time to end this. I told her in already less accommodating voice, "Cut the crap, little girl. You don't know the owner, you have never been here before, and if you keep yelling, I will call the police." Her demeanor changed and she was trying to defend herself the best she could. My reply to her weak comeback was, "My grandparents founded this restaurant, my family has been running this place for generations. I have worked here almost my entire life. I am the one and the only owner of this restaurant, and I have never seen you, heard of you, and I definitely never made a stranger I don't know and have never met before any promises." The mini Karens were just frozen and didn't even know how to react. Queen Karen was in tears. I said, "Now, I gave you the table you wanted, one of our specially reserved table for high-end clients, which I didn't charge you for, and I gave you 3 rounds of free drinks. If you don't pay your bill, I will call the cops and hand them your ID." In tears, Queen Karen signed the bill, and the mini Karens took out their purses to give her whatever cash they had, which equaled to maybe a couple of hundreds, with the promise to pay her back more. 2 days later, a man walks into my restaurant fuming and asks one of my bartenders to speak to me. I was in the office working for a bit, so he waited a good half an hour for me. He was Queen Karen's father. She was with him too, keeping her head down. I took them both into my office and showed him highlights of security cameras, which had especially good quality of audio, because they were in the VIP, which we had to keep good records of, because we've had other unrelated incidents before. So I showed him most of it, their comments, their orders, everything. When all was said and done, he stormed out with her and was screaming at her the whole time they were walking away. Haven't seen or heard from either of them since, but the original bill I gave them, the one that didn't count the oysters, is framed on my desk. That story was brilliant. I kind of expected the LP to tell Karen that he is going to call the manager and just turned around saying, "Oh wait, I'm the manager." At least that's something I would do if I owned a restaurant. The next story is, several years of harassment caused her to lose a job and her kids. Several years ago, my mom was dating this nice man with 2 kids. My younger brother and I liked the boyfriend himself, but his kids were another story. His kids were entitled jerks that always got what they wanted, constantly stole our toys, and were generally a nuisance to be around. I always tried to be a better person, but my brother and I were constantly getting into arguments with them due to their pettiness. They weren't even the worst part of the relationship. The boyfriend's ex-wife was. From my perspective, I felt that she was the type of person that, if she couldn't have him, nobody could. She made my mother's and our lives hell, constantly feeling false complaints about our side of family, generally pointed at my brother and I. From harassment to climbing, I had stolen her son's toys, which was the other way around, and going after the boyfriend claiming he was an unfitting parent. Several times she would try and ruin any plans we had come up with. For example, after spending months planning a trip to New York, last minute she blew a fuse and demanded we cancel the trip so that she could take her own trip with them. We had already gotten written agreement from her. One time she even demanded the older son and I visit a family therapist. After pointing all the blame on me, I told my side of the story. It resulted, without the therapist fully implying, that they agreed I was in the right and then storming out of the room. Among many other reasons, even after my mom and her boyfriend had gotten engaged, the ex-wife was one of the biggest reasons why my mom had decided to call off the engagement. The harassment and drama were just too much for us. It broke her heart to do so, but she made us the priority and got us out of that situation. A few years after the breakup, my small family and I were living happily. I never saw the kids or the dude again. My mom had still kept in touch with the former boyfriend, but after some time apart, she has seen the faults in him too. I was in the 8th grade and living life happily. That was until the ex-wife stepped into gym class one day. Apparently, since the breakup, she had gotten her teaching degree and became a substitute teacher. She was now replacing our normal gym teacher who was on maternity leave, as well as acting as the assistant teacher for our health/sex ed class. Basically, I now had to see her pretty much every other day for the rest of the school year. At first, she didn't recognize me. Puberty had hit me hard, changing my appearance drastically, especially for someone who hadn't seen me in like 5 years. Eventually, she recognized my name, and that's when the harassment began anew. All of it was snide remarks about my appearance, constantly pointing me out as an example as to what puberty can negatively do to you, to the class as if I was the only one dealing with it. The main health teacher didn't know about it either. Basically everyone in 8th grade was taking sex ed at the same time. It was technically one extremely large class but split up into male and female groups. And wasn't I lucky that ex-wife got the male half, mine? I told my mom about it immediately and she was livid. She sent multiple emails to the school requesting that they switch teachers or at least let me take the class online. It all fell on deaf ears until, with the help of the ex-boyfriend, we shot them dozens of emails, phone calls and messages, all spouting harassments at my family and I. This resulted in her being fired from the school and basically being blacklisted from our school district and the surrounding area. If she wanted another teaching job, she would have to find it elsewhere. This resulted in a major legal battle between her and the ex-boyfriend because she had tried to move out of the state with the kids and without his nor the court's permission. Apparently she lost custody of the kids and had to go back to her old job. Don't know what it was. All in all, it was an interesting experience. We cut all ties with that entire family after the whole ordeal and went on with our lives. I'm now a sophomore in college waiting out the lockdown in my state. While my mom still hasn't had a long-term relationship since then, mostly sticking to online dating. One of them turned out to be a pedo, but that's a story for another day. But she's happier than she's ever been in a long time. Anyways, that's all for today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the stories. Comment below if you ever pro-revenge someone. If you want more content, subscribe to my channel and see you next time.